Picture this, right? It is 11:30 p.m. You're lying in bed. The glow of your phone is just illuminating your face in the dark.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right, like you were supposed to go to sleep an hour ago, but instead you were just completely paralyzed. You were absolutely transfixed by a video of a knife.
Yeah.
And not just any knife, a flawlessly sharp metal blade slowly, smoothly slicing right down the middle of a block of like vibrant neon pink kinetic sand.
The kinetic sand is always what gets you.
Always. And the two halves just fall away in perfect symmetry, and then the video loops. And you watch it again, and a third time, and suddenly you have entirely lost track of time.
It's a universally recognizable scenario at this point. I mean, anyone with a smartphone has found themselves at the bottom of that exact digital rabbit hole, right? Just staring at the screen, suddenly wondering where the last 45 minutes of their life went.
Oh, I know I have. But there's this fascinating new paper out called The Psychology of Perfect Patterns. And reading through it, I mean, it completely changes how we should look at this late-night scrolling habit.
It really does.
So our mission for this deep dive is to decode the hidden mechanics behind these videos. We're going to look at exactly why your brain is so easily hypnotized by sand being cut or, floral foam being crushed or even bars of soap being painstakingly carved into tiny little cubes.
Yeah, we really want to uncover what this seemingly mindless behavior reveals about the inner workings of the modern mind.
Because it reveals quite a bit more than most people assume.
Oh, absolutely. The common reaction is to just dismiss this content as like junk food for the brain, or maybe a symptom of our shrinking attention spans.
Right, the whole social media is rotting our brains angle.
Exactly. But when you actually look at the underlying biology and the psychology, there's a profound, really ancient mechanism at play here.
Thinking about ancient mechanisms, it immediately reminds me of staring into a campfire.
Ooh, that's a good comparison.
Right, because for tens of thousands of years, humans have just sat around in the dark, staring blankly into the flickering flames of a fire. It's mesmerizing.
It is.
The fire doesn't have a plot. It doesn't ask anything of you. It just moves in this satisfying, rhythmic way.
So are these kinetic sand videos just the modern digital equivalent of zoning out at the campfire?
That is, the campfire provides this safe, contained, and rhythmic sensory input, which is a fantastic parallel. Mm-hmm. And validating that connection really establishes the overarching theme the source explores today.
Which is what, exactly?
That these videos aren't just a random waste of time. Their popularity isn't some accident. They are a highly specific, engineered response to human psychology.
Wow.
Yeah, they're literally pressing buttons in our neural circuitry that have been there since our ancestors were sitting around those literal campfires.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I have a really hard time believing this isn't just digital pacification.
Sure.
You're telling me staring at glittery sand is actually an active psychological process and not just my brain rotting at 11:30 p.m.
Because there is a massive contradiction at the heart of this entire phenomenon. When you really stop and look at these satisfying videos, they are entirely, pointless. Nothing important actually happens.
Right, there are zero stakes.
Zero. There is absolutely no narrative arc. There's no protagonist, no dramatic tension, no climax, no resolution, and usually there are no words spoken at all.
It is literally just a physical action happening to an inanimate object.
Exactly. Yet millions upon millions of people will sit and watch this content for hours. That completely defines how we usually consume media.
It really does.
We read a book to follow a story. We watch a documentary to learn a fact. We watch a movie to feel a specific emotion.
But the complete absence of those traditional elements is the exact source of the appeal here. The source points out that by stripping away all narrative, all dialogue, and all complex character motivations, these videos isolate a completely different neurological trigger.
Okay, what trigger?
Well, think about when you watch a movie. Your brain is doing some heavy lifting. You're processing language, right? You're predicting human behavior. You are constantly analyzing social cues.
Trying to figure out who the bad guy is.
Exactly. These videos bypass the complex analytical parts of your frontal lobe entirely.
But wait, if there is no story and there is zero new information being conveyed to the viewer, How is that not just turning our brains off? Is the phone just functioning as an adult pacifier at that point?
Well, you're not turning your brain off, actually. You're shifting its processing mode.
Shifting it how?
When the brain isn't busy processing a complex plot, like trying to figure out who the killer is in a mystery or what the political implications of a news story are, it suddenly has a massive amount of newly freed up bandwidth.
Oh, I see.
And in these videos, the brain uses that bandwidth to focus purely on visual order. Processing perfect visual order leads us directly, on a neurochemical level, to the brain's reward system.
I want to get into the actual physiology of that, because the text is very clear that humans naturally seek order. Like, we are hardwired to look for patterns.
We are.
But why? Why does watching a perfect cut or a scattered pile of objects miraculously aligning into flawless rows literally deliver a small reward to the brain?
It all goes back to evolutionary biology. For early humans, survival depended on pattern recognition.
Oh, yeah.
Spotting a predator hidden in the brush meant noticing a break in the visual pattern of the forest.
Right.
Finding ripe fruit meant recognizing a specific color pattern against a green backdrop. Finding order in a chaotic environment kept you alive. So the brain developed a system to reward you for it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, when you recognize a pattern or see something resolve into perfect geometry, your brain literally releases dopamine.
Wait, really? So that dopamine hit we get from seeing a perfect cube of sand is an evolutionary leftover for when we successfully foraged for berries?
In a way, yeah. The modern brain's dopamine system is basically being hijacked by flawless geometry, which introduces this critical concept in psychology known as cognitive ease.
Cognitive ease.
Right. Your brain is a massive energy hog. It takes a huge amount of calories and effort to process the chaotic, unpredictable visual and social stimuli of the real world.
Sure, it's exhausting.
Every time you cross a busy street, read an email, or try to interpret someone's tone of voice, your brain is experiencing cognitive friction.
Ooh, I like that term. It's like the difference between driving on a freshly paved, perfectly straight highway versus navigating a pothole-filled dirt road in the dark.
That is the perfect way to visualize cognitive friction, actually.
Because the straight line requires zero steering, your brain gets to just put the car in cruise control.
Exactly. A soap-crushing video is that freshly paved highway. Predictable visual patterns require virtually zero mental energy to process. Your visual cortex doesn't have to work hard to understand what it is seeing.
Because you already know what's going to happen?
Right. You know exactly what a straight line looks like. You know exactly how a cube is supposed to divide. When you see it happen flawlessly with zero prediction error, your brain experiences cognitive ease. It's a profound feeling of biological comfort.
I can feel that. It is like, the immense physical satisfaction of doing a massive jigsaw puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
You've been staring at this chaotic sea of weirdly shaped cardboard pieces for an hour.
Yeah.
Your brain is working so hard, looking for the edge, matching the colors. And then finally you find that one missing piece.
And you just press it in.
Yes.
Yes.
You press it in, and it seamlessly snaps into place. You get this huge wave of relief. Watching these videos is like getting that exact same feeling of resolution, but without having to do any of the frustrating puzzle-solving work.
Exactly.
And it's delivered to you on a silver platter every 3 seconds.
You are getting the neurochemical reward without the labor. But, visual perfection is really only half of the sensory equation here. Yeah. The visual predictability establishes the baseline, right? It creates the visual rhythm. But if you really want to understand the mechanism keeping you glued to the screen, you have to look at the audio. The sound is what truly locks the viewer into the loop.
The sound is everything. I always turn the volume up for these.
Same.
The source dives deep into the specific audio landscape of these videos, and it brings up the crisp crunch of kinetic sand being compacted, the gentle scraping of a metal knife against a textured surface.
It's so visceral.
It really is. And the soft rhythmic cascade of falling grains hitting the table.
And the text explicitly connects these specific types of sounds to a physiological phenomenon known as ASMR.
Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. For the listener, if you aren't familiar, that is the pleasant, static-like tingling sensation that some people get.
Right, usually starting on the scalp and moving down the back of the neck.
Exactly, in response to specific audio triggers like whispering or crisp tapping sounds.
But what the source is careful to note is that we need to look beyond just the tingles. Because even for the vast majority of people who do not physically experience that scalp sensation, These repetitive sounds are activating the parasympathetic nervous system.
Meaning they're actually changing your physical state.
Yes, the parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for your rest and digest state. It brings your heart rate down and lowers cortisol levels.
Oh, wow.
Because in the wild, unpredictable sounds like a sudden snapping twig signal danger. But soft, repetitive, predictable sounds like running water or rhythmic tapping, they signal a predator-free, safe environment.
So these videos weaponize that feeling of safety.
They absolutely do.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. If the sound is that powerful at triggering the parasympathetic nervous system, is the audio actually doing the heavy lifting? Like, could you, the listener, achieve that exact same level of profound comfort just lying in a pitch-black room, totally blindfolded, listening to high-fidelity audio of someone crushing floral foam?
Honestly.
Yeah.
You absolutely could get a deep sense of relaxation just from the audio. Audio alone is incredibly potent because, as the text notes, these sounds are free from the chaos of everyday life.
Right.
Think about the ambient noise of your day. You have sirens, overlapping voices, the hum of fluorescent lights, ringtones constantly going off.
It's a lot.
It is constant, unpredictable auditory friction. By providing a clear, predictable, highly isolated audio environment, the mind is allowed to hyper-focus on a single, pleasant sensory experience.
It's like white noise, but better, because it has a physical texture to it.
Exactly. It gives the ears something to hold on to. But to answer your question about whether the visual matters while the audio alone is powerful, it's the combination that creates the trap.
The loop.
Right. When you pair the flawless visual geometry with the hyper-crisp, perfectly timed audio, you create a synchronized sensory feedback loop. The eye sees the knife hit the sand at the exact millisecond. The ear hears the crunch.
Sensory synchronization.
Yes. The brain simply cannot resist that level of alignment.
And if there is one entity on Earth that knows how to exploit an irresistible loop, it's a social media algorithm.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which brings us to how the psychological trait causes such massive real-world ripples. Because it is exactly this guaranteed hit of cognitive ease that platforms have figured out how to mathematically optimize.
The rise of social media algorithms is really what took this niche psychological quirk and turned it into a massive global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because the source explains that platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, they don't actually know what kinetic sand is.
Right, they're just code.
They don't watch the videos. They only look at the data.
Oh.
And they discovered a mathematical anomaly in their retention graphs.
They found the holy grail, completion rate.
In the attention economy, getting a user to watch a video all the way to the end without scrolling away is the ultimate goal. Normally, a retention graph decays. People drop off every single second.
Because they get bored.
Right. But with these satisfying videos, the graph stays flat. People watch to the end. And then, because the video loops perfectly, the completion rate actually goes over 100%.
Over 100%, that's crazy.
The algorithm sees that metric and just skyrockets the video to millions of feeds.
It is wild to think about. The algorithm doesn't care if a video has $1 million budget, a famous director, and a complex script.
Yo.
If people experience cognitive friction and click away after 10 seconds, it sinks. A 15-second clip of kinetic sand being sliced perfectly holds human attention longer than a massive Netflix pilot.
And that algorithmic reward system has entirely changed the way these videos are made. The source points out that satisfying content is no longer just someone messing around with a microphone in their bedroom.
No, not at all.
It has evolved into a highly competitive, legitimate art form driven by data.
The level of production value is staggering. I mean, creators are spending hours, sometimes days, designing the perfect geometric shapes.
Oh, absolutely.
They are color-matching vibrant neon palettes specifically designed to pop on an OLED phone screen. They're using professional-grade binaural microphones to capture the exact audio frequencies that trigger that parasympathetic response we talked about.
And the text even mentions that some of these videos require hundreds of attempts to capture a single flawless cut.
Hundreds?
Yes, which highlights the great irony of this entire genre. It requires immense, painstaking effort, high stress, and hundreds of failed, messy attempts behind the scenes to create a 15-second video that feels completely, utterly effortless to the viewer.
Wow.
The creator has to absorb all the chaos and friction of the real world, so the viewer experiences absolutely none of it.
Let's talk about the specific materials these creators are using, because among all the floral foam, the soap carving, and the slime, The source specifically highlights Kinetic sand as the absolute undisputed champion of satisfying content.
It really is.
Why is that specific material dominating the algorithm?
It all comes down to its unique physics. Kinetic sand is essentially regular sand coated in a specific type of silicone oil.
Okay.
And this coating gives it a non-Newtonian quality. It allows the sand to hold a rigid geometric shape, like a solid brick, but the moment it is disturbed or cut, the bonds break and it flows almost like a thick liquid.
It's a physical paradox.
It is. It creates mesmerizing, almost physically impossible visuals. Your brain sees a solid block, predicts it will behave like a solid, and then watches it cascade like a waterfall in slow motion when the knife hits it.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Your visual cortex is just endlessly fascinated by processing that smooth transition from solid geometry to liquid flow. It completely breaks the brain's predictive models, but in a way that feels totally safe and visually pleasing.
So what does this all mean?
Uh-huh.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, the evolutionary desire for order, the cognitive ease of a paved visual highway, the ASMR audio lowering our heart rates, the algorithms demanding over 100% completion rates, it feels like we are looking at something incredibly calculated.
Very calculated.
These creators aren't just making fun crafts. They are essentially acting as digital neuroscientists. They are engineering highly concentrated artisanal brain candy that is mathematically designed to hack our oldest neural pathways.
They really are. They are delivering a pure, unfiltered dose of order. They have distilled the feeling of completion and predictability down to its most potent 15-second form.
Which really forces us to ask the ultimate question today. Why is this specific type of algorithmic brain candy so desperately needed by the modern viewer right now? Why are you, the listener, seeking this out at 11:30 at night instead of just going to sleep?
I think the source's final conclusion brings it home perfectly. We have to look at the environment we are actually living in.
Right.
You exist in a modern world that is completely saturated with constant notifications. Your phone is always buzzing with demands, news alerts, emails from your boss. The streets are loud. The news cycle is chaotic and entirely out of your control. Everything is fast, loud, and incredibly complex.
The real world is the ultimate pothole-filled dirt road. It is cognitive overload, all day, every day.
Exactly. So in that environment of relentless noise and distraction, these videos offer a commodity that has become incredibly rare. Absolute simplicity.
Simplicity.
When you are watching that kinetic sandfall, no one is asking anything of you. You don't have to form an opinion. You don't have to respond to a message. You don't have to worry about the future. You just get to observe perfect, uninterrupted physics.
So when you, the listener, catch yourself glued to a soap-crushing video tonight, don't beat yourself up for wasting time. Realize what your body is actually doing. It's just your brain asking for a break.
Yeah.
It's asking for a brief 15-second sanctuary where everything feels neat, predictable, and perfectly in place. It's your brain desperately seeking out that digital campfire to just stare into and breathe for a moment.
It is a coping mechanism, a highly effective, beautifully engineered coping mechanism for the stress of the modern age.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, it does leave us with one final lingering thought. Something for you to ponder on your own the next time you find yourself caught in that endless, mesmerizing limbo of the perfect cut. If our digital lives are becoming more and more stressful and we are increasingly relying on these flawlessly engineered 15-second digital clips of kinetic sand to experience a baseline sense of order and peace, what happens to our ability to cope with and find comfort in the unpredictable, messy, unedible reality of the physical world around us?